Hey everyone, and welcome back to BMX News. This is a weekly BMX news show where I talk about everything that happened in the previous week within the world of BMX that I think you might care about. With that being said, let's jump right on into the news. The first thing we have to talk about this week is news not just within BMX, but within bicycles in general. And it even might make the mainstream news if it hasn't already. And that is that there were some tariffs approved on bikes and bike parts that are imported from China to the effect of a 25% increase on the currently existing numbers that will go into effect January 1st, 2019. There's going to be a 10% increase in the time between now and then. So what this means is that companies that have parts that are made over in China are going to have to pay 25% more when importing these parts or bicycles from China to the US. And an important thing to note here is that these tariffs only affect China and not Taiwan. This is something that I haven't seen anyone really talking about within BMX. Everyone is freaking out as if every single thing that is made overseas is going to be taxed, which may end up being the case, but we're not there yet. I'm not 100% sure or completely educated on what specific parts are made in China versus what's made in Taiwan, but I do know that there are a lot of frames and bars and steel parts that are made in Taiwan. Mainly the more expensive big ticket items are made in Taiwan versus China, which makes things like bearings and pedals and tires and things of that nature that are naturally less expensive. So that might lead you to believe that these tariffs might not affect the big ticket items like frames, forks, bars, wheels, and things of that nature. But with that being said, no matter what is produced in China versus Taiwan, we still could be affected as the consumers, because with increased tariffs on products coming from China, other bike and parts manufacturers may look to relocate their business to Taiwan, which isn't being affected by these tariffs, which could incite a bidding war between the existing manufacturers that are already there and the ones that are looking to expand or relocate there, which could in turn affect our prices over here, even though the tariffs aren't being implemented on Taiwan itself. Honestly, it's impossible to say for sure what's going to come next, but what we can say for sure is that change is probably coming, and with a prospective bidding war between companies trying to relocate to Taiwan and existing companies in Taiwan, and the approved higher tariffs on Chinese imports, we are definitely going to see something happen, and costs can only rise so far before companies look at the potential to relocate entirely to the US or somewhere else for their manufacturing. I would personally like to see companies move back to the US, but that would almost certainly mean a price hike for the consumer, at least to the level that we see currently with US manufactured bikes and bike parts. And with that being said, the raw material prices in the US have seen an increase. Another thing to note here is while yes, US based BMX manufacturing companies aren't going to have to worry as much about this tariff increase, they still are being affected by rising raw material prices, and they most certainly are going to be affected because I think the entire industry of BMX in general, when it comes to bikes and bike parts, is going to be affected by this, unless you're someone like Profile who does everything in-state, in-house, as much as they possibly can, and doesn't rely on the outside world of China, Taiwan, or anything like that for any of their parts when they can help it. So it's extremely unlikely that we won't see some sort of price increase across the board when it comes to BMX, but either way, what comes next and how this plays out will be very interesting to see. We can only hope that companies find a way to pass this on evenly between the companies, the manufacturers, the consumers, and the bike shops, and they don't just pass this on and put the higher tariffs to the consumers and the bike shops and make us pay everything so that they don't see a decrease in their profits. Hopefully they can find a solution that works and distributes all of these higher costs to everyone, and only time will tell. And with that being said, you've got to keep in mind that definitively complete and reliable information about this is still scarce because these tariffs were only approved this week. So there's not a ton of information out there. The bicycle industry isn't exactly the most important thing in the world to everyone else. So with time, we will have more information and more accurate information. We really haven't seen anyone within BMX talking outwardly in a video about this yet, and it's kind of super important, which is why I wanted to talk about it first in this news video, because honestly, this is the biggest piece of news that we could possibly talk about within the world of BMX this week. And with that, I talked about this for a very long time, so I slimmed down the rest of the news video. I also have something else that I'm going to be deep diving in, so I didn't want to make this video 20 minutes long. So let's move into the next parts of the normal BMX news that we talk about. First thing is contests and jams. We had a video behind the scenes from Austin Augie at the Battle of Hastings. It's a 20-minute long video that shows a ton of stuff that you probably haven't seen from the Battle of Hastings, so check that one out. There's another video from Ride called What Makes the Battle of Hastings So Great, and this one features a ton of people that were at the Battle of Hastings talking about and answering the question, what makes Battle of Hastings so great? So with this video asking a few very recognizable people what makes the Battle of Hastings so great, there are a lot of similar answers, which you can definitely see if you've been following any of the content from the Battle of Hastings. And I want to take this opportunity to say why I think the Battle of Hastings is so great. I personally think that this is another one of those meccas for BMX, like Roots Jam or the Baco contest, only it's over in the UK, so it gives an entirely different demographic of people an opportunity to have access to these people who they otherwise would not have ever had a chance to be around without the Battle of Hastings, because it brings so many people, so many prevalent people within BMX all into one place for one purpose. And it's not some X Games feast style contest where they have to be very structured, and I feel like you just don't have access to the people in the contest the same way you do at Battle of Hastings. And it's just one of those things that brings so many people together, the way that all of these highlights throughout the years of BMX have, like the Roots Jams or Baco or today's Swamp Fest or Texas Toast. And I love that it gives people on the other side of the world an opportunity to experience these things the way that previously could only really happen in the US for the most part. I know there were a lot of contests and jams that happen overseas, but nothing quite as big or monumental as the Battle of Hastings. And with that being said, another aspect to this is that people like Dave Osato and Matt Berenger can be involved in this contest in a way that they just couldn't be involved with something like Feast or X Games, because with the way that the Battle of Hastings is organized, it just works in a way that it couldn't at these other types of contests. Hopefully, as time goes on, these events keep happening and BMX grows to a point that it can justify putting down the time and the money that it takes to make these events happen more often, and maybe even have a US and UK version of the Battle of Hastings. And that's what I think makes Battle of Hastings so great. And now you can see why we're going to be doing a slimmed down version for the rest of this BMX news video compared to previous BMX news videos. So let's keep going. We've got a battle clips video from Ride BMX from the Battle of Hastings. We've got a course preview with Tyler Fernengel from the Vans BMX Pro Cup 2018 in Malaga, Spain. And then we have a day 2 video from Ride BMX from that same Vans BMX Pro Tour in Malaga, Spain. And that brings us to the videos from this week. The first one that I want to talk about, and the video that is at the top of my must-watch video list from this week, is a video with Kubo, Bruch, hopefully I said that right, and it's called Goodbye Brnofornia, or Brnofornia. This is seriously my favorite video of the week. Within the first 20 seconds, this dude does a running man and a cross-footed 180 and gets out of it to go back to normal and continue his line. There's just something about videos where people are 100% themselves that I love so much, and that's so obvious that this is what this video is. This guy has a style all of his own, but he also mixes in some super tech grinds with this video, and all in all, this video is one that you just have to watch. And the last clip in this one is a fakie wall ride to double peg on a quarter. I'm going to explain that to you because I feel like it's really hard to understand just saying it. The guy was riding along a deck of a quarter, hit a wall ride straight up and down like he was on flat ground. Then instead of going to fakie on the deck of the quarter, he did it so that when he dropped back straight down, he landed in a double peg stall on a quarter pipe. Complete insanity. Watch the video. After that, we've got one called Hogs Abroad. This is an extremely well put together trip video that features BMX and skate and just adventuring in general. Then we've got a how to 360 with Brandon Loupos and a how to do a pegs over hard 180 with Grant Castelluzzo from Madera. This one hopefully will let me learn this trick a little bit more consistently and on a flat rail rather than just an up rail. And after that, we've got Curtis Cantwell's arch crash video. This is one that I would say just don't watch if you don't react well to crash videos, because honestly, the aftermath of the crash itself is 100 times worse than just watching the crash. It's completely terrible to watch, honestly. I didn't like it. I skipped through it because it's just kind of hard to watch, but it's awesome to see that he had such good friends with him, and I presume that he was okay because this was uploaded to his YouTube channel alongside other riding videos. And that's the last video that I want to talk in depth about this week, so let's go right on through and list the rest of the videos that I thought were worth watching. The first one is from Jaime Gonzalez, and it's called 720 by 576. Then we've got one from Matthias Dandois called Line Up, and it's from Red Bull. Then we had a Frelo Bikes Atlanta trip, a video called Rail Slayer featuring Martin Svoboda from Junkride and BSD, a New Day featuring Stephen Hamilton, and then the entire BSD Transmission DVD was uploaded to YouTube as a whole. We had a couple bike checks to talk about this week. The first one is Jake Seeley's Unpacking bike check. This is kind of less of a bike check and more of just a conversation about his bike while he takes it out of a bike bag and puts it back together. He doesn't exactly list all of the parts that he has. Then we've got a bike check from S&M from Peacock. This is the guy who won the high air and best whip contest at Posh Trails that we talked about last week. He won both high air and best whip, so you definitely want to check him out if you like trails. After that, we had an Anthony Perrin Fall 2018 bike check from Federal, and that brings us right on into the products from this week. The first one is that Sunday's Fall 2018 apparel was dropped, and then another video from Sunday featuring Alex Seaman and a promotional video for his 2019 Sunday Complete Forecaster bike. If you needed any sort of proof that Sunday Completes are built to take the level of abuse that a pro can throw at them, this video does it for you. Alec does a couple technical grinds, starting out with a double peg to downside whip to fakie on a real rail, and then ends it with a gigantic 360. This bike is just under $500, and just like the Sunday Aaron Ross Forecaster Complete that we talked about last week, in that it comes with an integrated headset, mid-bottom bracket, sealed hubs, and an Odyssey clutch free coaster rear wheel. After that, we've got another complete bike promo video, this time for Joe Battaglia's signature park fit complete bike. This is another one that I'm super pumped on because I love when complete bikes are built for a specific purpose, just like this bike with a gyro, brakes, and no pegs, which is perfect for Joe's riding and a great representation, and he is a perfect person to have a signature bike made like this one. And the promo video is just under a minute long and features some classic Joe Battaglia riding that you all know and love. After that, we've got a huge write-up with tons of videos and writing about the We the People 2019 completes that's over on ridebmx.com. There's a write-up and a video for every single complete bike that We the People has, so check that one out if you're in the market for a We the People complete 2019 bike. My voice is disappearing. Good thing we only have one other thing to talk about, and that is an interview. It's the Rollback podcast from Kyle Carlson, who runs Vital BMX. This time it's with Justin Cosman. So if you want to check that one out, it's in a link in the description below, as well as links to everything else that I've talked about today in the order that it was talked about. And one thing I forgot to mention at the end of talking about the tariff stuff at the beginning of the video is that I've included a link in the description to a list of products that are included in this tariff. So check that out if you care, and let's have a conversation in the comments down below about anything from the news video this week, or just in general with BMX in the news that you guys care about. So with that being said, that's going to wrap up this week's BMX news video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to talk to you in the comments down below. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button down below as well. I come out with this BMX news video every Friday. I come out with a tips and tricks video every Tuesday, and other types of riding videos and streams throughout the week. I want to thank you guys for being here and watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for another video. Goodbye.